Well, hello there. I am Matt Williamson. Belly up to my bar. Let's have a little chat about my power ranks. And I will say, first off, we're brought to you by ZipRecruiter. I will tell you more about them momentarily. But I will say, for the first time in a long time that we've done power ranks, I actually feel kind of confident about them. I think that we're basically at the halfway point. Speaking of which, I kind of owe you guys a halfway point MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, all those things. Maybe I'll incorporate that with Twitter Thursday. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, I feel kind of confident about the power ranks. That I think the line of demarcation's getting a little clearer as to who's good, who's really a contender, who's true middle of the road. And of course, things will change. I've been doing this a long time, and I never want to pretend like we know, but I think we have strong indications. One thing, and there's a lot of change in the power ranks this week too. So one thing I did, how sometimes I'll add a little note. I also wanted to do turnover differential. So basically anyone that's real strong or real weak in the turnover differential department. And how I deciphered that after looking at all 32 teams was anyone that was +4 or better or -4 or better. Those ones in the middle I'm not even going to bring up. Kind of like how we do with other things. Like who are the best, who are the worst, who are the top, 33%, who's the bottom 33%, whatever. Or top 25%, bottom 25%. The middle people I don't care that much about. And I figure most teams played 8 games, so a +4 is a pretty strong indication. A -4 is a pretty strong indication. Get what I'm saying? Well, the Brownies are -12. They're the worst in the league, and they're still 32nd. I don't know what else to say about that. However, I will say that these other bottom feeders didn't register. You would think that they would immediately be at the bottom. But, besides the Browns, let's just go through it here. From 28, 29, 30, 31, I have Tampa, Indy, Giants, San Fran. San Fran stays there, and they're probably going to for a while. Giants, I dropped from 24 to 30 after really an embarrassing performance. Colts stay about the same and go from 30 to 29, although I do think they're sneakily getting okay. Not good, but okay. Tampa goes from 25 to 28. They're sneakily, or not so sneakily, getting horrible. But all those teams were neither extremely in the plus or in the minus with turnover differentials at about the halfway point. The Ravens go from 27 to 27, and they're +4. And my thoughts on that immediately are, boy, where would they be if they were a little worse? I mean, they're so turnover, defense, special teams reliant that if they were a -4, they might be a 1-win team. You know what I mean? Like, it is critical for them. And at least they are in the plus version. The Bears, this surprised me. The Bears are -4. And I understand that they have a rookie quarterback, but that's an opportunistic defense. They're a run-first team. That one shocked me a little bit. I mean, so what if they were at +2 or so? They may have 2 more wins. Atlanta, some of these tough games, tight games that they almost won. So maybe the Bears are a better team than we thought. And I guess you can look at that 2 ways. Like, I just look at the Browns and say, they're -12, they stink. But I look at the Bears and say, well, they're -4, but if they were a couple bounces away to being +2 or even or something like that with their style of play, maybe, kind of like Baltimore, they're hard to play against, I guess is my point with them. The other team that is worst in the league at turnover differential, take a second. Guess who you think it would be? They're going to be 25 in the power ranks. Denver. I mean, that's bad. I mean, because, again, they're one of these Ravens, Bears-like team where they're not going to beat anybody 30-10. I mean, let's not be unrealistic here. They have big-time issues at quarterback. I just wrote I think it needs to be Paxton Lynch and maybe even Devontae Booker time there as soon as Lynch is healthy. Denver goes from 21 to 25, and their differential is the worst in the league, tied with the Browns at -12. brutal, man. I mean, their style of play does not lend itself to losing turnover battles to have anything close to success. You know who is successful, though? Yep. Our buddies at ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? My line of work's a little strange that way. You know, I always like the reference when we talk about ZipRecruiter. I wish they had something along this line when I was the recruiting assistant at Pitt. They didn't. We did slug through all the VHS tapes at the time. But with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job. Better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within 1 day. I'm going to repeat that. 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within 1 day. That's crazy. So there's no juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. Right now, all my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiters for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter/LONFL. I'm sorry, go to ZipRecruiter.com/LONFL. That's ZipRecruiter.com/LONFL. All right, that is the word from our friends over at ZipRecruiter. I've told you about them before. They are obviously friends of the show. The Texans are a tough team to put in power ranks. They go from 11 to 24, and in the world of power ranks, you just have to be cold and say, how good is this team? Without Watson, maybe they're worse than 24. I mean, right now, if the Bears played Houston, I might take the Bears. Maybe I'm being a little hard on the Bears. Denver's terrible. Denver deserves to be 25. But Houston is a 24. They don't equate in the turnover differential section. Green Bay, they just played last night. We'll talk about that game a little. I thought Hundley did some better things. They still don't ask a ton of them. I thought Aaron Jones would be more productive. Ty Montgomery looked good near the end. I thought the Green Bay D did pretty well. All things considered, I thought they should have generated, or would have generated more pressure on Stafford. But this is a couple weeks in a row where Stafford's been the best player on the field. And we know how the NFL is. When there's somebody, boy, does he throw the ball well. That throws like that with such precision and accuracy and puts it anywhere he wants. They're just so hard to play against. I mean, I thought Green Bay might have a shot in this one. I was a little surprised that they were a couple point dogs. And my worry was when people were asking me who to take, I was like, I like Green Bay plus the points. They're at home, Lambeau, Detroit never wins there. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, if Stafford is great, forget about it. And Stafford was great. I mean, there's more to the game than that, but to me, that was the obvious talking point. I mean, forget about it. So I got Green Bay, goes from 22 to 23. They are +5 in turnover differential. My hunch is that goes back towards the 0 mark. I would think Hundley will turn the ball over a lot more than AR did. Miami goes from 29 to 22. This looked better. That's kind of all I got on that. Line looked better. Cutler looked better. Running game has a different feel to it. Receivers are good. Defense is all right. So they're okay. I mean, I don't think they're going anywhere. For where the record is, they're a bad team, but they do not equate either way in the turnover differential. Neither do the Jets, who I moved all the way up to 21, the highest they've been by far. They were 28 a week ago. Josh McCown's good. They got a couple guys. I mean, Jets fans, it's not all doom and gloom. Arizona goes from 23 to 20. Clearly, everything's going to go through Peterson as it has to without Palmer. Maybe it should have with Palmer. The Cardinals are -4 in turnover differential. I do think that's a good defense. Secondary outside of Patrick Peterson's not as wonderful as you would like, but they rush the passer. They're a good defense without question. But if Peterson can shorten the games, maybe they'll be in the playoff hunt. The Bengals go from 18 to 19, -9 in turnover differential. Ooh. They're a decent team with a decent quarterback, with a above decent defense, certainly above decent weapons. But this one explains a lot. Like, boy, I didn't think the Bengals would be -9. I mean, one of the worst in the league in terms of turnover differential. Bad. One of the best in the league, and this one I've talked about ad nauseum, is Buffalo. They're +11. They are best in the league. They came back to earth a little on that regard this past week as they lost. They go from 12 to 18 in my power ranks. A very turnover-dependent team. And yes, there's an art to creating turnovers and not turning the ball over for sure. But it's also a little fluky too. You know, I mean, you can't just count on it. Oh, we're going to be +20 in turnover differential this year. You know, I mean, and they're a team that absolutely needs it in order to be competitive. Sorry about my phone, but oh well. The Lions are also +6. They began the season very high in the plus minus power rank, or not power ranks, turnover differential. And Stafford's doing a good job evaluating the football. Abdullah with some fumbles last night, though. I mean, what was that all about? And he wants to be the goal line back, but he's not a goal line back. But the Lions go from 19 to 17. They're okay. I mean, they're one of these teams that I actually think are about as middle of the road as you can get in the league right now. Chargers go from 13 to 16, even though they're off. Don't know much to say about them. Tennessee goes from 17 to 15. Talked about them a lot yesterday, where I don't feel like I know who the Titans are, but it wouldn't surprise me if the second half of the season is better than the first. Both the Titans and Chargers did not register on my turnover differential. These two teams did, though. Oakland goes from 20 to 14, and I wasn't blown away by their performance, but I am open to the fact that maybe they're turning the corner, particularly on offense. But they're -7 in turnover differential. That's pretty bad. And I don't have it in front of me, but my hunch is they're not causing many, just by the nature of their defense. I bet they're not. There's not many big plays occurring on their defense, that's for sure. Atlanta's -4. They go from 15 to 13. A stark contrast from where they were a year ago. If you recall, I mean, remember, Atlanta didn't punt. They didn't turn the ball over last year. I mean, it's almost remarkable that as extreme as some of their offensive stats were last year, that we all should have seen some offensive regression coming. Field position, turnovers, hidden yardage type of things. Just couldn't keep up at the same pace.
Hi, this is David Locke, founder of the Locked On Podcast Network. Did you know that you can play your favorite Locked On podcast on either Alexa or on your Google Home? All you have to do is go to Alexa and say, "Hi, Alexa, play program Locked On," whatever you choose. And on OK Google, you just say, "OK Google, play podcast Locked On," whatever you choose. Enjoy on your Google Home or your Alexa.
All right, we are back. These are the teams I think are basically the upper tier, the top dozen. And I got Washington at 12. And maybe Washington's a little closer to Atlanta and Oakland and Tennessee, who are right behind them, than they are these teams I'm about to talk about. But they don't go away. You know, I mean, that win in Seattle was gigantic. And I think they're well coached. Cousins is playing well. Defense is playing much better than I expected. I mean, the offensive line injuries and not much of a running game, the Redskins are still hard to play against. And let's say they get healthy for that last month of the season and happen to find their way into the playoffs. I think they could make some noise. Kansas City's pretty low right now. I moved them from 4 to 11. They are +9 in turnover differential. That should surprise no one. Smith threw his first pick this week. They've lost 3 in a row, though. Maybe this is the lowest they'll be all year, and they could rebound strong. But I do think that defense has holes in it. And I like the offense overall. I really do. And I think that they'll be fine on that side of the ball. And Hunt's not going to have many games with that little yardage. So I think they'll be okay, but I also think that they peaked a little bit. Jacksonville, get a nice win. Go from 10-10, even without Fournette. Best defense in the league. +7 in turnover differential, which shouldn't surprise you. I mean, again, they're a glorified version of the Ravens in Denver and Chicago, like we talked about, that they're going to hide their quarterback and not ask them to throw a lot, and therefore not many interceptions and turnovers on that side of the ball. And when you rush the passer like they do, you're going to cause turnovers. So they were +7 right now. Seattle is +5. Some of that surprises me, some of it doesn't. And what surprises me is because of the pass rush and the poor offensive line play, you would think there'd be more turnovers. But this is also an opportunistic defense, and Wilson's playing really well. They're +5. They go from 6 to 9 in the power ranks. Dallas takes a jump and goes from 14 to 8. See how long Zeke stays on the field, but I do think it's safe to say it's Dak's offense now, more so than Zeke's, which is a good thing. I mean that in all, respect to Elliott, and the offensive line's playing better. Love that they got a lot more out of Terrence Newman and Cole Beasley. They're going to need such things. So they go from 14 to 8. This one is shocking because of all these teams, like I said, that were in that top 12, pretty much ever since we broke from the podcast, this is the only team that's in the -4 or more, and that's Carolina. They go from 7 to 7 at a -8, which is big. I mean, that's one of the worst numbers in the league. Like I said, they're the only ones in the top 12 that's a minus, and it's a big one. And I wonder, is that going to correct itself? Opportunistic defense, a lot of zone, good pass rush, Kuechly, Davis, Shaq Thompson. Those guys are opportunistic, get to the football, cover well, turnover creator types. Newton may turn it over here and there, but I do think the running game's kind of turning the corner, and they're trying to change what they do a little bit. That I bet when it's all said and done, their turnover differential gets better before it gets worse. But they're -8 right now. Minnesota goes from 5 to 6. They just keep churning along and not losing games. Kind of like what they're doing. They're just not losing games. Great defense. Sounds like Keenum's going to stay as a starter. They run the ball pretty well. They got a good set of weapons. It's a winning formula. I wonder where the ceiling is on that formula. Rams go from 9 to 5. They just blew the doors off them. I mean, they just scored over 50 points. I very much believe in the offense. I think the defense is quite good. Rams are a good football team. They're the best team in the West right now. New Orleans is a real good football team. They go from 8 to 4. I'm not sold that the defense is a upper tier defense, but I am sold that it's much better, much harder to play against. I said yesterday, Jordan and Latimer are the straws that stir the drinks, and the other guys are pretty good. Secondary's diverse and basically strong. Breeze and company keep rolling along. Really have incorporated Kamara and Ginn and those guys in really well. Has anyone gotten more from their rookie class than the Saints? Marcus Williams, Ramczyk, Kamara, and Latimer. New England goes from 2 to 3. Pittsburgh goes from 1 to 2. Really no fault of their own. I just bumped Philly from 3 to 1 because they had a great win, while the Steelers and Patriots were on bye. Patriots, as usual, are in the plus in terms of turnover differential, which is a little surprising considering how poorly their defense played for that first month or 5-6 weeks or whatever. But they are at +4. The Steelers don't register. The Eagles are at +6. You're a one-win team. I would think you'd be in the plus, and Wentz is a risk taker, though, and I do think he'll throw picks throughout his career. He's not bashful, and I mean that as a credit to him. But they're running the ball pretty well. Diverse running game now, diverse running back situation now, I guess is a better way to say it. Really good defense that should continue to create opportunities, pass rush, sacks, strip sacks, fumbles, turnovers. Eagles are good. Eagles are real good, and that's why I have them at number 1. So tomorrow, as usual, I'm going to be chatting with my man Mike Renner. I'm not sure what he's working on. I'll ask him tonight. He's always working on good stuff. And that's a wrap. Check out our friends at ZipRecruiter. See you.
Hey, football fans, this is David Locke, founder of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're giving you a chance to win a free PFF Edge subscription. That's right, Pro Football Focus Edge subscription. You get fantasy projections, NFL player grades, all sorts of cool year-round draft coverage as well. All you have to do is go to this Locked On Podcast iTunes account and enter in a 5-star review or enter in a review and put in your Twitter handle on that. So go to the iTunes account of this podcast, leave a review, leave your Twitter handle, and you've entered in for a drawing to win a Pro Football Focus Edge account. It's about a $40 value. Thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Hi, this is David Locke, founder of the Locked On Podcast Network. Did you know that you can play your favorite Locked On podcast on either Alexa or on your Google Home? All you have to do is go to Alexa and say, "Hi, Alexa, play program Locked On," whatever you choose. And on OK Google, you just say, "OK Google, play podcast Locked On," whatever you choose. Enjoy on your Google Home or your Alexa.